and welcome to our first broadcast of 2012. I am your host, Aaryn Hall, for this edition from Ottawa Hills High School, School of Business. And our guest today is the Executive Director of Grand Rapids Public Schools, Department of Public Safety and Security, who recently was promoted to Assistant Superintendent of GRPS, Mr. Larry Johnson.
Thank you, Aaryn, for having me.
So my first question to you is, what was your inspiration to become superintendent?
Well, I never had an inspiration to be a superintendent or assistant superintendent. My goals in life had always been in law enforcement. That's where my roots are. My career path had led me into law enforcement, and so it had always been my desire to be a chief of police of a major community. But I ended up in the Grand Rapids Public Schools about 15 years ago, and have enjoyed every bit of it.
How did you come to work for GRPS?
I ended up coming to the Grand Rapids Public Schools about 15 years ago after about 14, 15 years in the Grand Rapids Police Department. I originally I went to college in Grand Valley, and so I started my law enforcement journey right in Grand Valley. He's been a campus police officer for about 6 months. Then worked in communities such as Benton Harbor, Lansing, Michigan, back to Benton Harbor, and then Grand Rapids in the early 80s, or about 86, I believe, were recruiting minority police officers. And I came up and applied and was selected and immediately placed in undercover narcotics. So I began to work undercover narcotics, and then later promoted in the police department and worked in the SWAT team and commanded the SWAT team for about 7 years. And then an opportunity came, a series of events occurred, and an opportunity came, and I came over to work for the schools.
Yeah. Right now, I know you only been superintendent for a little bit of time, but the assistant, but what are the pros and cons of it?
Right now, again, we're about 13, 14 days into this, and one of the difficulties is trying to regain the trust of our staff, our community, our students. As luck would have it, people's perceptions of the way the district is ran sometimes change, and that makes it difficult to get programming done, makes it difficult to push the academic agenda forward. So one of the things we want to do, Mrs. Neal, myself, and the rest of the staff, is we want to rebuild that trust with our community. More importantly, rebuild that trust with our staff, our teaching staff, and our parents as well as our students.
Yep, because trust is important.
Yes, it is.
Yes. What are your future goals for this district?
Well, my future goals aligns with the district strategic plan. About 8 months ago, the Board of Education did a series of planning meetings with our community. The result of that came out with a 5-year strategic plan. That strategic plan is really the roadmap into us accomplishing things. So I want to work within that strategic plan to accomplish those goals. One of those goals is safe and healthy schools, healthy communities, academic achievement. So what we want to do is continue down our journey to do that. Student accountability as well as transparency from the district, so that people are clear of what we're trying to accomplish, have clear, concise understanding of what we're doing, so that we not appear to be hiding anything at all, that we're upfront and honest, and we're asking questions and getting positive feedback and dialogue from all our stakeholders.
Okay. Take us through the daily life of what you do every day.
Well, in my role as I'm still in charge of safety and security in the district, and that is something that is most dear and near to me. But my day starts about 5:30 every morning. In the winter time, it sometimes starts earlier than that. I review a lot of police reports that I get in from the police department. That review starts at about 6 in the morning, 6:30. Talk with the superintendent, talk with other department heads to bring them up to speed on what they need to know. Communicate with my high school principals, my middle school principals via the phone, or by stopping by their buildings when I think that we have something potentially that's going to have an impact inside of their building. And so it just goes through investigative, follow-up of investigative reports, making contact. I try to spend about 25% of my time in buildings because that's where the real magic happens, in the buildings. And so if administrators don't get into the buildings, they really don't know what the heartbeat of the district is.
Yeah.
So,
All right. What, like if the schools were to close, like what would be your school closing procedures?
well, winter closing procedures or facility closing procedures starts with a series of phone calls. Typically, if we walk through winter, if we get information from the news outlets that we're going to have a winter storm, I'm pretty much up all night monitoring that storm. Myself and there's two other people that'll will get up about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. We drive the roads, the transportation director, as well as one of our facilities managers. We drive the roads. We want to see if we can get buses up and down side streets. We want to make sure that the school facilities, the parking lot, the walks and steps are cleared. If we can get those cleared and kids can walk down the sidewalks without having to walk in the streets, if our buses can move up and down the street, we're probably going to have school. Sometimes in the outlying areas, you may see schools closed and Grand Rapids is open. That's a little difficult sometimes for students and parents to swallow. But we don't a lot of times have to worry about the blowing and drifting of snow. The city of Grand Rapids have trucks moving around all night. So we do a collaborative work with them and hoping that our schools can get open. We try to make that decision by 5:30 in the morning. To make it any later than that would be a very difficult and a challenge for us.
All right. So you know, let's kind of talk about like where you're from.
Well, I grew up in a small community outside of Detroit, the southwest side of Detroit, called River Rouge. It's a small downriver community of Detroit. I lived in River Rouge all my life until I was 17 years old when I left to go to college, and I've never returned since I left for college. But had a good experience growing up there. Grew up with a brother and 4 sisters in that community. Yep.
Wow, so you have a big family.
Yep.
Okay, so our school drills, like what do you think about those?
Well, drills are important, and about 1999, the state of Michigan made emergency drills in school a mandate. Although fire drills have been a mandate for many years, we were required to do 6 fire drills, 2 emergency drills, and 2 severe weather drills inside of our schools. I think they're very important because what it does is prepares our young people, prepares our teachers on how to react in the event that we have a real emergency. Although drills have been around for a while, whatever industry you go into now, if it's schools or if it's public sector, the private sector, people are now doing emergency drills, lockdown drills, shelter-in-place drills, because our world after 9/11 has unfortunately moved into that direction.
Right. This has been a topic that's been going on about, like, with everybody, especially students. What do you think about the online education of this year, and you know?
I think online education is important. It's important for students and staff to embrace it, because if we're truly preparing students who's going to go into the workplace or going on to college, many of the college courses are being done online, or there's a combination of online and in-class learning. So I think I don't think it's the only way to learn, but I think there are some students who will do very well. It has to be carefully crafted to make sure that it meets the educational needs of all of our students. But the one-on-one interaction with teachers will never go away. That's going to always be a need for that.
Right.
And but I think the teachers that's in front of us also have to help the students embrace online learning, because I think it is the way that our country, it is the way the educational system is going.
Right. And sometimes, like, well, personally for me, I think it's better to like do the one-on-one with the teacher.
All of my educational experiences up to recently have been with one-on-one. I've never done an online class, never done a computer-based class. All of my classes have been in front of an instructor. I think there's a lot to be gained from that interaction, but again, the way that individuals are learning now with Blackboard and My Banner and other online avenues, E2020 and NovaNet that you guys are using in the schools now, I think it's important to embrace that and know how to do it, because some students will do very well in an online setting versus the one-on-one interaction with staff.
Okay. So what do you think about today's technology, how do you think it's affecting us? How do you think it's affecting like the learning environment?
Great question. You know, technology has the opportunity to let us see the world, talk to the world, go places that we've never been able to go before. And I say go there virtually, not
like literally,
not literally, but virtually. You can travel the world virtually. When I was in high school, the thought of chatting with someone in China or Afghanistan or you know, Belize it was not a possibility unless you did it via the phone. But now we can have one-on-one communication with them, visually see them. Technology is one of the greatest things that's happened to education, but there's also some dangers that come with technology.
Right.
Because if it's not used carefully, young people and adults can get themselves in serious trouble and put themselves in a dangerous situation. So it has to be from a young person's perspective. I think parents have to monitor what their kids are doing online, literally monitor. You need to our parents need to check their kids' the Facebook and Bebo and MySpace to see who they're communicating with. And kids or young people have to be very careful who they communicate with and not invite people that they don't know into their friend on these blogs.
Right, because I was told by someone very close to me that if you put something out on the internet, it's there forever. You cannot.
You know, and that I'm glad you brought up that point, because that is so important from a criminal justice or a law standpoint. What our young people have to understand is that what they post, what they blog, can be retrieved. It could have an impact on your future college admission. It could have an impact on future jobs. People who interview are now asking if you have a Facebook account. They're asking if they can review those accounts as part of the background investigation. Some employers have their technology department that's going out there to look to see if there's inappropriate conversations, inappropriate pictures that are being posted. So there are some dangers with Facebook. There's some dangers with social networking sites that our young people must understand, and adults must understand that it could ruin an educational or professional career.
What do you think about like some of the behaviors that have been going around?
Disruptive behaviors in our schools is a problem. For anyone to say that, and we're talking about Grand Rapids Public, for anyone to say that it's not, it is. It's disruptive to those young people that want to learn. It's disruptive to the staff who wants to teach. So we got to hold parents accountable. We have to hold kids accountable, young people accountable for their actions. And there's going to come a point in time when we will have to remove some students from school to let them learn in a different environment when their behaviors are so disruptive to the masses who want to be in school and learn. School is a place to come get an education. It is not a place to be disruptive. We have to get to the core of the problem of why kids are being disruptive, and then carve out an educational plan for those individuals that is best suited for them. Some kids will not learn in a larger environment, but we have to have a place to send them, a place to educate them. It may not be in a traditional high school, traditional middle school, and now cases in a traditional elementary school, because we see some of these behaviors in the elementary school as well. But we have to work with parents, work with the community to figure out what is best for these children so that they're not so disruptive that they can't learn themselves, or worse, prevent others from learning.
What do you think about these school lunches? Like,
you know, and although I don't have a lot to do with the school lunch program, one thing I will say about school lunches, and we have to create a better selection of lunches for our students.
right.
But we also have to get our students to eat healthy and understand that nutrition and feeding the mind, feeding the body if you feed the body will take care of the mind. That first meal of the day is so important. It is so important what you ingested into your body. Our food nutrition person, Paul Baumgartner, will share that with anyone that talks with him. That if we get our young people eating healthier, the opportunity for them to achieve at the academic level will increase. Academic achievement goes up when kids have been fed and when they're not hungry and when they're not thinking about eating when they're in the classroom.
Okay. What do you think in a traditional classroom should be like the size of the students to be like to create a good working environment?
You know, I struggle with this, and I probably struggle with this with that question only because I'm not a traditional educator by every sense of the word. Uh, I believe teachers, and there's some data and research that says 25 to 30 kids in a classroom. 30 may be pushing the high end, but the smaller the classroom, the better instruction is going to be received. Now, having said that, I often, and I know that as you get older, you're able to endure a little bit more. But in my college classes, I had 50, 60, and sometimes 100 kids. Now, I'm not suggesting that we put 100 kids in a classroom. That just wouldn't work in a K-12 setting. It wouldn't work. But ideally, I think if we can get 20 to 25 students in a classroom, I think it would be very beneficial to our teachers, but more a rewarding experience for our students. Well, they would learn more academically and be able to be engaged a little bit more if the classes were not so large.
Okay. This is a subject that I think we should start doing, but I don't know if other people might agree to it. But I've noticed like a lot of kids are like making like bad decisions and like bringing stuff they're not supposed to into the schools. What do you think about having like maybe like the teachers or like the police dogs coming into the school and like checking the lockers every once?
We do that in Grand Rapids, and we've done that for about 10 years now, where we do random and unannounced weapons and drug searches. And fortunately, it's an applaud and a hats off to our students, because we very rarely find any narcotics inside of lockers when we do these searches, or weapons. But we do know students are prone to bring weapons to school if they're getting arrested or participating in violent acts with weapons on the weekend. They will probably have them inside the school. This is another parental responsibility piece. Our parents need to be searching or checking. I know search is a hard word for young people, but checking their kids' rooms to make sure that they don't have contraband inside of the house. If the parents are checking the house, it's going to reduce the possibility of that kid bringing something to school. So I believe I am an advocate for random and unannounced drug and weapon searches in schools, because unfortunately that's the times that we live in, and we have to keep our kids safe. We have to keep our staff safe. We have to create a safe environment, and I think by doing those type of things, those unannounced searches, it keeps people on the back of their toes and give us the advantage, the adults the advantage of keeping those things out of the building.
After school learning, what do you think? Like, just what's your opinion on that?
Well, again, if you go to the data, go to the research, it would show that there is a need for after-school learning. There's a need for after-school programming, and I say after-school programming with a disguised component into it, a disguised learning component. We just can't open up the gyms and say, here's an after-school program, throw the balls in the gym, let's have a good time. University of Colorado has some very good studies out on after-school program. And to students who may be struggling, it could be the #1 way to re-engage them into the educational process. So, in all of our schools in Grand Rapids have after-school programs, be it the Loop or the Loft program. They are very good programs for struggling students, but they're also very good programs for a student who just want to get ahead. But the content of the after-school program must be looked at, and we need to make sure that we have qualified instructors in the program and that they are meeting the needs, the academic needs of our students.
Extracurricular activities, do you think that helps with focusing on the education, or do you think like that may help them like just being active?
We call it extracurricular activities. I've always referred to it as co-curriculum activities. And the reason I say co-curriculum activities, again, just my interpretation of it, I think there's some programs, athletic-based programs, that are very important for student learning. I was always involved in athletics in high school, always involved in clubs and groups, and I know the importance of those programs and how those programs also help prepare me for the classrooms. They teach discipline, they teach self-respect, they teach self-esteem, and that's some of the things that our young people are missing when they are not involved in co-curriculum or extracurricular activities inside of the classroom. It could be not the main cause, but one of the causes of disruptive behavior, because the kids have not learned self-control, they have not learned self-respect, and they have not learned how to respect others. So co-curriculum or extracurricular activities are very important in the development of a young person.
Okay. I would like to thank my two camera people, which are Kiara Bird and Tyrell Jameson, for all your help today. And Thank you, Mr. Larry Johnson, for being on the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I enjoy being here.
All right, I'm Aaryn Hall, and we're out.